A billionaire's life took a surprising turn when he discovered a stray dog. Michael Collins lingered on the balcony of his opulent penthouse, perched high above the vibrant thrum of San Francisco. As the sun dipped below the horizon, it bathed the iconic skyline in a golden light, with the majestic Golden Gate Bridge framing the view. Holding a glass of fine Bordeaux, he absorbed the scene that many only dreamed of, a scene that failed to quench the emptiness gnawing at him. The stunning vista of the city became a mere backdrop to the pervasive loneliness that had become his constant companion. Leaning against the cool metal of the railing, the breeze played with his dark hair as his eyes trailed to the bustling streets below. The laughter and clinking glasses from a nearby cafe carried up to him, where a group of friends shared a moment of pure joy. Michael watched with a twinge of envy, longing for a connection that seemed just beyond his reach. Despite his substantial wealth, the numerous awards that lined his walls, and the endless social gatherings he frequented, Michael felt like an apparition in his own existence, always observing, never truly part of the scene. "Michael, there you are!" The familiar voice of his assistant, Claire, pulled him from his thoughts. She stepped onto the balcony, her heels echoing on the marble. "You're going to be late for the gala. You know how the board members are." He turned with a resigned sigh. "Right, the gala. Can't miss that," he responded, his voice devoid of any real interest. He viewed the upcoming event as yet another parade of pretenses, a place where flattery was traded as freely as business cards, and meaningful interactions were scarce. Claire studied him, her head tilted in concern. "Are you okay? You seem distant today." "I'm fine, Claire," he replied too quickly, offering a forced smile that he had mastered over the years. She nodded, though her expression showed she remained unconvinced as she retreated indoors. Left alone again, Michael stared at his reflection in the mirror while preparing for the evening. The man looking back at him wore a facade he knew all too well, a mask that had become his second skin, hiding the solitude that no grand vista could ever fill. Michael's tailored suit, a testament to his success by its designer label, felt more like a costume than a comfort. He adjusted his tie and took a deep breath, preparing for yet another evening filled with superficial exchanges. His penthouse, while adorned with the trappings of success, trophies, state-of-the-art technology, and art pieces worth fortunes, echoed with a silence more profound than any applause he'd ever received. The event was set in the grandeur of a hotel ballroom, where crystal chandeliers glittered like celestial bodies in the night sky. Upon his arrival, Michael was enveloped by a flurry of greetings and firm handshakes, the faces of colleagues and business partners blurring together. With a practiced smile, Michael engaged in pleasantries, often struggling to recall names. "Michael, great to see you," boomed Robert, the CEO of a competing tech company, with a robust pat on the back. "I hear your latest app is breaking records. What's the secret?" Michael responded with a laugh, his tone polished yet empty. "Just hard work and a stellar team," he replied, the words ringing hollow. Behind his successful facade were countless sleepless nights and personal sacrifices, a life devoid of real joy or connection. As the evening dragged on, he drifted from one conversation to another, each feeling more transactional than the last. "Have you seen the latest stats?" one colleague would ask. Another would discuss market trends. Michael's agreement was mechanical, his attention drifting as he searched the room for any genuine interaction. A bright voice caught his attention. "Can you believe this weather? I'm planning a getaway to Napa this weekend. You should come, Michael." He smiled politely. "Thanks, but I'm swamped right now." He declined, his tone light but his spirit heavy. Walking away, the familiar cloak of isolation enveloped him once more. It was exhausting. Later that evening, Michael found himself at the bar, a drink in hand, eavesdropping on the fragments of conversations that drifted his way. "Did you see Lisa's wedding photos? Absolutely magical. Tommy just graduated. Can you believe it?" Each mention of life's milestones celebrated by others was a stark reminder of what he had sacrificed in the pursuit of his own success. He had built an empire, yet it seemed as fragile as a castle of sand, perpetually at the mercy of the tides of loneliness that threatened to erode its foundations. Seeking solitude, he retreated to a quieter corner of the ballroom, his gaze fixed on the dance floor alive with couples engaged in joyful dances. The sight was as beautiful as it was heart-wrenching. Michael longed for such connections, to share genuine moments of happiness with someone who truly understood him, but the more he craved it, the more elusive it appeared. Eventually, overwhelmed, he excused himself from the glittering confines of the gala. Stepping outside, he took a deep breath, momentarily invigorated by the city's vibrant pulse, But as he made his way back to his penthouse, the familiar weight of solitude descended upon him once more. At home, Michael aimlessly scrolled through social media, the glow from his phone casting stark shadows around his dimly lit apartment. The stream of posts displayed friends and relatives celebrating milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, vacations, each image a poignant reminder of the personal connections he lacked. He sighed deeply, his hand brushing through his hair in a gesture of frustration. "Is this all there is?" he whispered to the quiet of his apartment. The question echoed unanswered. He paused at a post from his younger sister announcing her engagement, the comments section overflowing with congratulations and joy. "You deserve all the happiness in the world," read one comment, deepening the pang in his chest. Michael yearned to share in his sister's joy, to bridge the distance his lifestyle had created, but it felt like a chasm too wide to cross. Maybe wealth doesn't equal happiness after all, he murmured to the silence, the weight of his reflection in the dark window seeming to agree. In that moment, it became painfully clear to Michael that despite his many accomplishments, he was deeply alone. The emptiness of his luxurious lifestyle stood in stark contrast to the meaningful connections that seemed to come so easily to others. As he set his phone aside, a spark of determination lit within him. Michael knew he could not continue on this path of superficiality, but the journey towards change seemed overwhelming, and he was uncertain where to start. One morning, Michael Collins woke with a heavy sensation pressing on his chest, as though the opulent walls of his penthouse were closing in around him. The morning sun streamed through the vast windows, casting a golden glow over the elegant decor and lavish furnishings that filled his space. Instead of providing comfort, the luxury felt stifling. He sat up, rubbed his eyes, and tried to dispel the pervasive sense of listlessness that had haunted him for too long. "What am I doing with my life, he whispered, the words resonating in the silence of his room. He glanced at the clock. It was already late morning. With no meetings or calls to anchor his day, Michael felt a compelling need to break free from the confines of his penthouse. He threw off the silk sheets, swung his legs out of bed, and stood filled with a new resolve. Forsaking his usual tailored suits, he opted for a simple t-shirt and jeans. As he left his penthouse, adrenaline surged through him. The elevator doors parted, and he stepped into the bustling lobby, the city's vibrant energy immediately enveloping him. The doorman greeted him with a nod, and Michael managed a tentative half-smile in return, a gesture that felt almost alien after so much isolation. Outside, the sounds of San Francisco engulfed him, the honking of cars, the lively chatter of pedestrians, and the distant noise of construction. It was as if the city itself was throbbing with life, a pulse he had long ignored. He walked without direction, letting his feet carry him down the familiar yet now strangely alien streets of his childhood. Strolling along Market Street, memories of laughter with friends, the unrestrained joy of youth, and life's simple pleasures came flooding back. Michael reminisced about the days he spent skateboarding along the Embarcadero, the sheer thrill of youthful freedom pulsing through him once more. This memory kindled a flicker of hope, momentarily easing the burden he had felt clenching at his chest. Just then, a familiar voice called out, "Hey, Michael, is that you?" He turned to find an old college friend, Rachel, waving exuberantly from across the street. Her vibrant red hair shimmered in the sunlight, her face lit up with a genuine smile. "Rachel, wow, it's been ages," he called back, crossing the street to meet her. Their embrace was warm, steeped in nostalgia. "What have you been up to? Still conquering the tech world?" she asked, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. Michael replied, "Yeah, you could say that." But his words felt empty. "Just the usual grind. How about you?" "Oh, I'm now at a nonprofit working on youth outreach programs. It's really rewarding, you know?" Rachel's enthusiasm was evident. "You should come visit sometime. We'd love to have you." Michael nodded, a twinge of longing stirring within him for the meaningful connections he once had. "I'd like that," he said, though doubting his own commitment. "Great, let's catch up soon," she said, pulling out her phone. They exchanged numbers, and as Rachel walked away, Michael was enveloped by a sense of wistfulness. He had missed these real conversations, these genuine connections. The fast-paced life he had crafted for himself now seemed increasingly hollow. Continuing his walk, Michael found himself drawn towards a small park nestled within the city's sprawl. The lush greenery and towering trees were a stark contrast to the steel and concrete he was used to. Entering the gates, he inhaled deeply, the scent of blooming flowers and sun-warmed earth filling his lungs. As he ventured further, the sound of children's laughter from the swings filled the air, resonating like a melody. A cluster of toddlers ran around in pure delight, their innocent laughter and joyful shouts kindling a warmth in Michael's heart. He watched a young girl twirl repeatedly, her sundress dancing in the gentle breeze. The sight stirred a profound longing within him for the simple joys he once knew so well. Finding a bench, he sat down, letting the park's vibrant energy envelop him. As he absorbed the scene, Michael couldn't help but reflect on how his life had shifted. The spontaneous laughter of the children was a stark contrast to his usual routine of sterile boardrooms and high-stakes negotiations. He closed his eyes, basking in the sun's golden warmth, and for the first time in a long while, he sensed a glimmer of true happiness. His reverie was interrupted by a cheerful bark. Opening his eyes, he saw a scruffy little dog bounding towards him, its tail wagging energetically. The dog was an adorable mix of breeds, its fur slightly unkempt and its black eyes gleaming with a friendly, lopsided grin. It paused before him, panting, looking up with expectant eyes. "Hey there, buddy," Michael greeted, his smile widening. He extended a cautious hand and the dog sniffed it before affectionately nuzzling against his palm. "What's your name?" he asked playfully, half expecting an answer. The dog simply continued to wag its tail, clearly enjoying the attention. Michael laughed softly. "I'll call you Buddy for now," he decided. As he stroked Buddy, a comforting warmth spread through him, reminding him of the pleasure found in simple acts of connection. He laughed again as Buddy playfully swatted at his hand, seeking more petting. "Where did you come from, little guy?" he mused aloud, feeling an unexpected bond forming. In that moment, Michael felt a surge of purpose he hadn't realized was absent. He was more than a successful entrepreneur. He was someone capable of experiencing joy and affection. "Hey there, Buddy," Michael murmured, lowering himself to the dog's level. As their eyes met, a profound shift occurred within him. The emptiness he had felt for so long began to crack, giving way to a burgeoning sense of connection. "You're a good boy, aren't you?" he cooed. Buddy's enthusiastic bark and the playful wag of his tail as he leaned into Michael's caress spoke volumes. As Michael stroked the dog's ears, enjoying the softness of his fur, he whispered, "You're all alone too, huh?" A deep sense of kinship with this abandoned animal washed over him. The bustling world around them seemed to fade into the background as he immersed himself in this simple, heartfelt interaction. Michael had devoted years to building his empire and accumulating wealth, yet here was Buddy possessing nothing but exuding pure joy. "What if," Michael thought aloud, struck by a sudden inspiration, "what if I took you home?" Buddy's reaction was instant. He leapt joyfully, barking as if he understood every word. Laughing, Michael felt the heavy cloak of loneliness lift slightly from his shoulder. "All right, let's do this," he declared, his voice firm with resolve. Standing up, he felt a wave of adrenaline energize him. The decision to bring Buddy home felt not just right, but necessary, as if by doing so, he was finally stepping outside the confines of his golden cage. "Come on, Buddy," Michael called, leading the way out of the park. With a newfound sense of purpose, their walk home was lively, filled with the infectious joy of Buddy's presence. The dog trotted beside him, exploring every detail along the way, his fur fluttering in the wind. For the first time in many years, Michael felt a genuine sense of purpose and a spark of joy he had thought was lost forever. When they reached his penthouse, Michael hesitated at the threshold. The place that once symbolized his success now felt stark and unwelcoming. However, as he opened the door, Buddy rushed inside, his tail wagging ecstatically as he investigated every corner of this new environment. Michael watched amusedly as Buddy sniffed around, bounced through the living room, and finally flopped onto the plush couch, wriggling with delight. "Welcome home, Buddy," Michael said, his voice filled with warmth. Watching Buddy's unrestrained happiness, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. For the first time, his home felt truly alive, animated by a vibrant energy that had been absent for too long. As the evening progressed, Michael found himself playing and interacting with Buddy in ways he hadn't imagined, each moment enhancing the newfound connection between them. Michael searched through his kitchen cabinets, amused by the irony of the situation. He had spent years dining alone on takeout and gourmet meals, and now here he was, preparing a simple dinner for a dog. "All right, Buddy, how about some chicken?" he mused aloud, pulling a package from the refrigerator. Buddy's eyes sparkled with anticipation, watching Michael's every move as if he understood the conversation. With renewed zeal, Michael cooked the chicken, the savory aroma filling the kitchen. "You're gonna love this," he called out to Buddy. Once the meal was ready, he placed it in a bowl on the floor. Buddy approached it cautiously, sniffed briefly, and then began eating with enthusiasm. Laughing, Michael observed, "You must have been starving." He made a mental note to ensure Buddy would always have plenty to eat. As the evening progressed, they settled onto the couch, the city lights casting a soft glow through the windows. Michael tried to read a book, but found himself continually distracted by Buddy, who snuggled against him contentedly. The contact was a comforting contrast to the cold solitude Michael was used to. "Do you know how long it's been since I felt this way?" he whispered to Buddy, surprised by the depth of his own emotions. "You're not just a dog. You're my friend." Buddy looked up with eyes brimming with trust and affection. In that moment, Michael understood that Buddy had not just entered his home. The dog had also found a place in his heart. The pervasive loneliness that had once defined his existence was fading, replaced by a fulfilling companionship. As they sat together, Michael thought about the future. "Do you think we should get you a toy?" Michael asked Buddy, treating the dog as if he could grasp every word. "Or maybe a whole box of them." Buddy cocked his head, ears perked, seemingly pondering the idea. Michael chuckled. "All right, shopping it is after our walk then." Their morning strolls had quickly evolved into a treasured ritual. Each day, Michael found himself rising early, filled with a fresh sense of anticipation as he readied for their outings. He'd grab Buddy's leash and announce, "Ready for our adventure, Buddy?" The dog's enthusiastic bark and eager tail wag indicated a resounding yes. As they meandered through San Francisco streets, Michael began to observe the world with renewed interest. He took in the aroma of freshly brewed coffee from local cafes, admired the vibrant hues of flowers in bloom, and delighted in the sounds of children's laughter from nearby parks. The simple pleasure of a gentle breeze or the happy patter of Buddy's paws on the sidewalk brought him unexpected joy. Each outing unveiled new delights, not only within the city, but within himself. On a particularly sunny afternoon, they found themselves in a quaint park adorned with blossoming cherry trees. Michael settled onto a bench, and Buddy promptly lay down next to him, resting his head on Michael's knee. The sight of his loyal friend warmed Michael's heart, a feeling so distant from the emptiness he had felt just weeks earlier. "You know, Buddy, you're not just a pet to me. You're my best friend," Michael spoke softly, stroking the dog's fur. Buddy gazed up with soulful eyes as if comprehending the significance of his words. "I've spent so much time chasing success and wealth, but I think I've finally discovered what truly matters." Buddy gave a gentle whine and nudged Michael's hand for more attention. Laughing, Michael said, all right, all the pets you want." He continued to scratch behind Buddy's ears, drawing a satisfied sigh from the dog. As the weeks turned into months, their connection deepened even further. Michael found himself more open and joyful, sharing his thoughts and dreams with Buddy as if the dog could offer wise counsel. He recounted tales from his youth, aspirations he had once suppressed under corporate pressures, and simple pleasures he had missed. Through it all, Buddy remained a steadfast, non-judgmental companion. One evening, as they relaxed on the couch following a long day, Michael retrieved a book from his shelf that he had meant to read for years. The cover was slightly worn, the pages tinged with the color of age. "This is a good one, Buddy. I think you'll like it," he said, cracking open the first page. As he began to read aloud, Buddy nestled closer, resting his head on Michael's lap, his ears perked up in attention. Time slipped away as Michael read through the adventure-laden tale, a story rich with themes of friendship and exploration. Immersed in the narrative, Michael couldn't help but reflect on how his life had shifted. He had transformed from a man solely focused on his career to someone who valued the simple company of Buddy, a dog who appeared exactly when he needed a friend the most. "This is what it's all about, Buddy," Michael whispered, looking down at the dog now dozing peacefully, comforted by the steady rhythm of Michael's voice. Yet, as evening deepened into night and shadows crept across the city, thoughts of his former life began to intrude. Deadlines, constant notifications, and the relentless drive for success that had once left him feeling so empty. A wave of anxiety washed over him, a reminder of the corporate responsibilities still looming in his world. "Do you think I can really change, though?" he quietly asked, breaking the calm. Buddy opened one eye and looked at him as if to affirm, "Of course you can." Michael laughed softly. "You're right. You're the proof that change is possible." In the subsequent days, Michael gradually altered his routine. He started taking calls during walks with Buddy, integrating his professional duties with his new appreciation for life. He also began declining non-essential meetings, relearning the value of setting personal boundaries. One Saturday morning, after their usual walk, Michael got a call from an old colleague. "Hey, Michael, we're organizing a reunion next week. You should come," his colleague urged. Michael paused, memories of past corporate gatherings surfacing. "I'm not sure. I've been quite occupied lately," he responded, eyeing Buddy, who was contentedly gnawing on a stick. "Busy? Doing what? Just hanging out with your dog?" His colleague chuckled. Come on, it would be good to see you. After a brief pause to ponder, Michael replied, you know what? I think I will come. It's time to reconnect. As he ended the call, he looked down at Buddy, who gazed back with bright, expectant eyes. Looks like we're heading to a party next week, Buddy. Hope you're up for a bit of socializing, Buddy responded with a bark, seemingly understanding the significance of venturing beyond their usual routines into a more expansive social world. The reunion was a blend of nostalgia, tinged with moments of discomfort. Michael navigated through the familiar yet superficial conversations, but this time, with a different outlook. Rather than striving to impress, he sought out real connections, eagerly sharing tales of his life changes and the happiness he had discovered with Buddy. Michael, you seem different, a former colleague noted curiously. What's your secret? Michael smiled, his thoughts turning to Buddy back at home. I've realized that there's more to life than just chasing success. It's about the connections we forge and finding joy in the simple moment. As the evening unfolded, a tranquil peace settled over him. He had stepped away from the relentless cycle of ambition, embracing a simpler, more fulfilling path. When he arrived home, Buddy was there to greet him, tail wagging, eyes alight with joy as if to say, welcome back, I missed you. Michael sank to the floor and pulled Buddy into a hug. You've changed my life, you know, he whispered. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Buddy responded with affectionate licks. And in that moment, Michael knew he had found his true purpose. Not in the relentless pursuit of corporate success, but right there on his living room floor, in the companionship of his devoted dog. As time passed, Michael sometimes felt a twinge of anxiety about future uncertainties, particularly with changes at work on the horizon. Yet he felt fortified, knowing he could face any challenge with Buddy by his side. Their bond had grown into a profound source of strength and confidence. One day, Michael found himself in the sterile environment of a veterinary clinic, heart pounding with nervousness as Buddy sniffed curiously at the new surroundings. The walls of the veterinary clinic were painted a calming shade of blue, but Michael's nerves were on edge. He was anxious about this visit, concerned not only for the routine checkup, but also to ensure Buddy's health and well-being. The bond they had formed in recent weeks was deeper than he had ever expected, and the mere thought of anything amiss with Buddy sent a shiver through him. Michael, it's great to see you again. Dr. Patel greeted him warmly as she entered the room, her dark hair neatly tied back and her smile exuding a warmth that felt comforting. And this must be Buddy, she added, lowering herself to meet the dog at his level. Buddy responded with a vigorous wag of his tail, his fur bouncing with each movement. That's him, Michael responded, his voice tinged with nervous laughter. He's been quite the companion. I couldn't imagine life without him now. Dr. Patel proceeded with the examination, checking Buddy's weight and listening to his heartbeat, while Michael watched intently, almost holding his breath. After a few moments, Dr. Patel paused, her expression serious yet compassionate. Buddy is in good shape overall, but I noticed some scars on his hind leg. They appear to be old wounds, she observed, her brow creasing with concern. Do you know anything about his past? Michael shook his head, the uneasy feeling in his chest intensifying. No. He was abandoned in the park when I found him. I didn't really ask. I just knew I couldn't leave him there. Dr. Patel nodded understandingly. It's good that you took him in. Animals often carry their past with them, and while we may not always understand their history, the fact that he's with you now is what truly matters. With consistent love and care, he'll continue to heal both emotionally and physically. Her words made Michael reflect on his own journey. Like Buddy, he too had concealed his emotional wounds beneath a veneer of success. The idea of providing Buddy with a loving home invigorated him with a renewed sense of purpose. I want to give him the best life possible, he stated firmly. The conviction in the city hummed around them, but Michael's mind was elsewhere. He felt deeply connected to Buddy, as if they were both on a path of mutual healing. One evening, as he reviewed some business reports, his phone vibrated persistently at his side. It was a family group chat, and a quick glance filled him with unease. They were discussing a news article about his health that had somehow reached the local media. He had been feeling slightly unwell lately, but hadn't given it much attention until now. Did you hear about Michael? I hope he's okay, one message read. He's probably just overworked. He'll bounce back, another chimed in. Michael felt a twinge of annoyance. His family didn't fully grasp his life, yet here they were, discussing him as though he were a headline. Yet beneath his irritation, there was also a trace of comfort, knowing they cared, albeit from afar. A few days later, during an afternoon stroll with Buddy, Michael caught sight of a familiar figure. Jeremy, his ambitious cousin, was leaning casually against a lamppost, a smirk on his face. Michael's stomach tightened. Their last encounter had been tense, with Jeremy pressuring him to sell his company, claiming it would be in everyone's best interest. "Hey, Michael," Jeremy called out, straightening up as they drew closer. "I've been trying to reach you. Heard you've been feeling a bit under the weather." Michael narrowed his eyes, protectively stepping in front of Buddy. "I'm fine, Jeremy. What do you want?" he responded curt. "Come on, don't be like that. We're family, right?" "I'm just checking in on you," Jeremy replied, his voice dripping with a concern that Michael felt was disingenuous. Michael was skeptical of Jeremy's sudden familial concern. "Really? Like when you were looking out for me by pushing me to sell my company?" he retorted, his tone skeptical. Michael retorted sharply, feeling the air between them charged with tension. Jeremy offered a disarming grin, his demeanor casual yet calculating. "That was business, Michael. This is personal. You have to consider what would happen if you're unable to run your empire. Wouldn't it be better to have someone at the helm who really knows what they're doing?" Michael's heart pounded with a mix of anger and clarity. He could see right through Jeremy's supposed concern, recognizing it as an opportunity Jeremy hoped to exploit. "I'm fully capable of handling my business, Jeremy. I don't need your help," he asserted. Next to him, Buddy growled softly, pressing closer to Michael's leg, picking up on his rising emotion. "Let's go, Buddy," Michael said, beginning to move away from Jeremy. "Don't be so hasty, Michael," Jeremy called after him, his tone sharpening. "You might want to reconsider your options. It'd be a shame if something happened to your new friend, wouldn't it?" The veiled threat in Jeremy's words sent a chill through Michael. A protective rage surged within him. "You stay away from him," he warned Jeremy, his voice firm and menacing. "Relax, I'm just looking out for you," Jeremy replied, his smirk betraying his insincerity. "We're family, after all." As Michael walked away, a knot of anxiety tightened in his stomach. He felt the weight of Jeremy's gaze on his back, menacing and cold. The confrontation left him deeply unsettled, and as he and Buddy walked home, he remained vigilant, sensing Buddy's awareness of his tension. "Don't worry, boy," Michael reassured, kneeling to stroke Buddy's ears. "I won't let anything happen to you." Buddy nuzzled into his hand, and in that touch, Michael found a moment of peace. Their bond was not just about companionship, it was a mutual pledge of protection. In the following days, Michael's anxiety didn't subside. He felt as if Jeremy was always lurking, poised to strike. Each glance at Buddy stirred a mix of deep affection and worry. The connection they shared was a beacon in his life, illuminating his days. Determined to shield the joy he had found with Buddy, Michael felt the heaviness of his health issues weighing on him as the sun set, bathing San Francisco in a golden glow. He sat on the plush couch, Buddy snuggled beside him, the dog's presence a solace amidst his inner tumult. However, his concern over his cousin Jeremy loomed larger than ever. Once a mere benign presence in his life, Jeremy had now morphed into a threatening figure, lurking in the background, ready to prey on Michael's vulnerabilities. "I can't let him get to you, Buddy," Michael murmured as he stroked the dog's ears. Buddy gazed up with eyes full of trust, seemingly attuned to the tension that pervaded their home. "I promise I'll do everything to keep you safe," Michael vowed, though he harbored deep fears about Jeremy's relentlessness. Their last unsettling meeting still haunted him, with Jeremy's menacing insinuations. "It would be a shame if anything happened to your little mutt," Jeremy had said ominously, a statement that now seemed foreboding. The following morning, a disturbing quiet filled the apartment. Normally, Buddy would be right there, playfully waking Michael up, but today the dog was nowhere to be seen. Panic gripped Michael as he searched the penthouse, calling for Buddy with growing fear. "Buddy? Where are you, boy?" His calls bounced off the walls, unanswered. In a frantic rush, Michael grabbed his jacket and bolted into the city streets, which felt strangely foreign in his current state of distress. The usual vibrancy of the city was dulled by his mounting fear. He raced toward the park where he and Buddy had first connected, hoping against hope that Buddy had merely taken himself out for an early adventure. "Please let him be there," Michael muttered under his breath, his steps quickening as he approached the park. The sound of children's laughter, which normally brought a smile to his face, now only tightened the knot of anxiety in his stomach. He scanned the area, but Buddy was nowhere to be seen. He questioned every passerby about a scruffy dog, but no one could offer any clues. As the hours dragged on, despair enveloped Michael like a dense fog. He trudged back to his apartment, where every shadow seemed to echo his loneliness. The possibility that Jeremy was involved in Buddy's disappearance nauseated him. Collapsing onto his couch, he stared vacantly at the wall, half expecting, half hoping for Buddy to come bounding in at any moment. Days passed, and Michael's search became an obsession. He blanketed the city with flyers and felt a jolt of hope with every dog that bore even a slight resemblance to Buddy. Yet, Each night, he returned to an empty home, the silence a stark reminder of what he had lost. Then, on a dreary, rain-soaked afternoon, as he sat listlessly in a cafe, Michael's phone buzzed. His heart lurched at the sight of the text, a photo of Buddy tail wagging in a dimly lit space with the message, "Meet me at the old docks tonight if you want your dog back." Cold fear washed over him. It was clear Jeremy's cruel game had escalated. Michael replied with a terse, "Okay," while a storm of anger and fear raged inside him. Determined to rescue Buddy, he headed to the docks as dusk fell, the gravel crunching underfoot and the moon casting a ghostly light across the water. "Jeremy!" he shouted into the chilling silence as he neared the designated spot. The air was thick with tension, the salty breeze doing nothing to calm his nerves. "Right on time," Jeremy's voice slithered out from the darkness, his tone smooth and taunting. He stepped forward, his smirk chilling Michael to the bone. "I'm here. Where's Buddy? What have you done to him?" "Untie him now," Michael demanded, his voice thundering as he moved forward, but Jeremy raised his hand, signaling him to stop. "Not so fast. I have a proposal for you. Give me control of your company and I'll release Buddy," Jeremy stated, his tone cold and calculating. The implied threat lingered menacingly in the air. Michael's heart pounded furiously. The idea of losing Buddy was unthinkable, but surrendering to Jeremy's demands was not an option. "You're despicable," Michael spat out, disgust etched across his face. "Using a dog to manipulate someone? Even for you, that's a new low." Jeremy's grin only broadened. "Desperate times call for desperate measures, Michael. You've become weak. Here's your chance to toughen up. Take back control of your life or watch your dog pay the price." A surge of protective love for Buddy steeled Michael's resolve. "This ends now," he declared firmly. "I will not let you harm him, and I'll expose you for the monster you are." The air crackled with tension as the two men faced each other, neither willing to yield. Just then, a voice cut through the night. "Hey, what's happening here?" A dock worker appeared from the shadows, having noticed the standoff. "It's none of your concern," Jeremy snapped, panic briefly crossing his face, but the dock worker stood his ground. "It becomes my business when there's a threat involved. I'm calling the police," he announced, reaching for his phone. As chaos ensued, Jeremy made a desperate move towards Buddy. Reacting swiftly, Michael lunged forward and scooped Buddy into his arms, narrowly avoiding Jeremy's grasp. "Don't!" Jeremy cried out in frustration. The dock worker was quick to act, dialing 911 as he approached them. "Stay back," he warned Jeremy. Sirens began to wail in the distance, growing louder as they neared, much to Michael's relief. Jeremy, realizing his plans were unraveling, tried to flee, but the dock worker blocked his escape, standing firm in his path. "You're not going anywhere," the dock worker declared firmly. As police sirens neared, Jeremy's attempts to escape were thwarted. Officers quickly arrived on the scene, detaining him and securing him in handcuffs. Michael's heart pounded with a mixture of adrenaline and relief as he watched the police lead Jeremy away, his threats finally neutralized. "Buddy, we did it!" Michael exclaimed, bending down to hug his loyal companion. Buddy responded with joyful licks, his tail wagging vigorously. "You're safe now, and so are we." As the police took their statements, Michael felt a profound sense of triumph wash over him. He had confronted his deepest fears and had come out stronger, understanding now that true bravery involved defending the ones you love against all odds. In the following weeks, as the turmoil subsided, Michael dedicated himself to recovery and reflection. He and Buddy spent more time together, their connection deepening through shared experiences and newfound appreciation for the simpler pleasures in life. Each walk through San Francisco's lively streets, each quiet moment they shared helped Michael value the smaller, vital joys of life, strengthened by Buddy's unwavering affection. With Jeremy's legal issues being handled, Michael took the opportunity to rebuild relationships with his family, repairing bonds that had been strained by past conflicts and misunderstandings. He embraced forgiveness, recognizing the futility in clinging to resentment. Walking through San Francisco with Buddy by his side, Michael felt rejuvenated, a renewed sense of purpose blossoming within him. No longer just a driven entrepreneur, Michael had transformed into a man who deeply valued love, loyalty, and life's simple joys. With Buddy, he looked forward to the future, ready to face new challenges and embrace the possibilities that awaited, each step forward a testament to resilience and new beginnings.